Hello, everyone, and welcome to A New Direction. My name's Jay Izso, and oh man, do we have another great show for you today. The book is titled Demolish Your Comfort Zones. You like that, but I did there. 6 unconventional practices to crush your hidden limitations. Yeah, I just did it. That's the radio voice there for you. No, fabulous book by Art Turock. He's a comfort zone demolition expert. Read this book. I talked to Art a couple of years ago, actually. We talked together, and we talked a lot about some of the things in this book and a lot of other things. And one of the things I want to say to you is this. We are not real good with change as human beings. In fact, we don't like change very much. And I could tell you psychologically that our brain resists change at every turn. And in fact, emotionally, when we think about change, what happens is, you've heard me say this phrase a million times, we get amygdala hijacked, where we get very emotionally strong and we resist it. And in fact, our psychological reactance, which is a term we use in psychology, is that when we feel someone is taking away our freedom, we will do everything to resist it to get our freedom back, right? The problem is that what we think is freedom is really nothing more than a prison. And the truth of the matter is, the reason why you are not where you want to be, the reason why you're not the success that you hope to be, the reason why you're not leading the way you want to lead, the reason why you're not getting to your aspirations, goals, and dreams is quite honestly for one reason. You've decided to stay into a comfort zone. And you decided that I'm comfortable here. And I don't want to disrupt my comfort. Because, you know, to disrupt my comfort means something has to be different. You're right. And you know who that is? You. You're the one who has to be different. Do you want your marriage to be better? You have to be different. Stop blaming your spouse. By the way, if you're blaming anything, I'm just going to tell you that when Art and I talk, I'm going to tell you that this term's going to come up. If you're blaming anything, you know what you are? You're a victim. As soon as you start blaming anything, you become the victim. As soon as you say, I can't, well, that's not who I am. I'm too old to change. Those are all victim mentality statements that says that, you know what, there's nothing I can do about where I'm at right now. I'm just stuck here in this world of loathing. I'm not even called self-loathing. It's just loathing. But if you want it to be different, if you want to change, if you want your life to be better, if you want your relationships to be better, you want your job to be better, if you want your company to be better, if you want anything to be better, then you have to demolish your comfort zone. You have to. And I am going to be the first to tell you that when I wrote the Amazon 5-star review, which I'm posting tonight, when I wrote the review on this book, I said this book was not for the faint of heart. If you're looking for some sort of silver bullet that's going to just magically change your life like that, that's not what this book is. By the way, the last time a silver bullet in my lifetime that I've ever seen actually work came from an imaginary character called the Lone Ranger, who even had to have a sidekick by the name of Tonto. Okay? There are no magic bullets, folks. All of this is going to take work. And so I need to introduce you to my friend Art Turock, outstanding guy. Art Turock, comfort zone demolition expert. He has the distinction of being an elite performer in both business and athletics. For 3 decades plus, he's delivered speeches and executive coaching for 125 Fortune 500 companies, one of the highest totals all time in the speaking industry. To spice up his exercise program, At the age of 55, he took up sprinting. He continues to enjoy a career in Masters track and field. And in 2015, 2016, his pentathlon scores at the USA Track and Field Masters Championship earned him a silver and bronze medal, plus number 8 world ranking for his age group. Since 2016, Art has conducted over 1,200 self-experiments, which is something else to think about, to demolish comfort zones and develop his ability to take extreme accountability for achieving breakthrough results. In the 2018 to 2020, he orchestrated an extraordinary freedom experiment to empower high achievers in business, military, consulting track athletes to field test his 6 unconventional practices in pursuit of their heartfelt goals, which we're going to talk about today. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Please, my friend, and welcome Art Turock to a new direction. Welcome, brother.
Jay, thank you so much. And you've set the tone perfectly. When you talk about comfort and its prison, using that word.
Yes.
My motto is comfort kills more dreams than failure ever will.
And that is where I was going to start. My gosh, right there in the introduction. It's
great minds.
Create minds. Comfort kills more dreams than failure ever will. And you ask a question right after that. Which life do you want? The life dominated by stories you dream up to stay comfortable, or the life of your dreams? Dig into that a little bit more, and let's encourage people about where they're at here and what we're trying to accomplish today.
Yeah, well, let's define the key term of the day, perhaps, is the notion of comfort zones. And it's dealing with familiar circumstances that you've been through before over and over again. There's no intent to take risks. There's stress-free familiarity. And for the short moment, fine. The price in the long term of staying in a comfort zone, loss of opportunities for fresh learning, loss of opportunities for breakthroughs. And let me define that word breakthrough, because it's used loosely. A breakthrough is a result that goes beyond what would be predicted based on your past history. Okay? You stay in your comfort zone, no space for breakthroughs, no space for self-improvement, continuous growth, and fabulous unforeseen learning. That's a heavy price. Jay, we're going to keep going back to your term, prison. And that's the cultural facade that we walk into, which is why, partly why I wrote this book, because I began to see that even the highly applauded goal setting, time management, holding people accountable, all those things that stand out as to-dos, they're fraught with comfort zones in this culture.
Yeah.
And when you do it that way, you're not nearly getting breakthroughs. You'll get realistic results, achievable accomplishments. Yes, that's what those techniques do. But I'm playing a bigger game in this book and in the coaching I do. Demolish your comfort zones, frees you up to take on bigger possibility.
In chapter 1, you have a great title, great book. Beware of hidden limitations of conventional performance improvement methods. And I think it's important that we kind of take a look at a couple of these anyway. One of the things you say in these you have 7 comfort zone accommodations in conventional performance. One of them is measuring up to cultural standards of success is easier than conceiving original goals. What do you mean by that?
Well, cultural standards of success. How do I compare with my age? How do I compare with my race? How do I compare with people in my profession, people with my college degrees? There's all kinds of standards to measure up to. You're not thinking from the heart.
Right. What about setting attainable goals prevents pursuit of breakthroughs? Because you brought up the word breakthrough.
Yeah.
Wait, let's talk about setting attainable goals that prevent these breakthroughs.
Well, absolutely. What you're hovering on is, what have I done in the past? That becomes the automatic reference point. And maybe you say, a little tweak, a slight improvement, but I find the greatest results I've had in life are when I'm destined to fail. It seems like there's no way. Can I give you a quick example?
Yeah, go.
Yeah. Okay. So here's conceiving goals. I asked the question, this is sounding really weird, of the all-time greats in sports, who could I compete against and possibly beat? Huh? So I went, Michael Jordan? No, I'm not going to dunk a basketball.
Right.
Michael Phelps? I'm not going to outswim him. Tom Brady? Well, wait a minute. Not throwing a football, but he wasn't that fast.
Right.
I'm going to beat him in the 40-yard dash that he ran when he was a college senior.
Right.
So here I am at 67 years old is when I did that.
Right.
So after I'd won my Masters track championships, I'm now going after Tom Brady. And Jay, regularly I beat him in his 40-yard time at the combine. That's the kind of thing that's possible when you free yourself up from measuring up to standards or even your past history.
How about this one? When you hold people accountable, be safe by avoiding mindset coaching.
Mindset coaching is limited. If you're just dealing with mindset, fine. But I'm talking about things beyond mindset. I'm talking about having elite performance improvement practices. The 6 practices in my book take you beyond mindset. Mindset certainly figures into a couple of them, but there's a broader array that we want to look at.
Okay. And then finally, you have a thing here that just says blaming is human nature.
I was kidding when I said that, and you can see I'm laughing at it. It just seems to be, but simply it's an ingrained way of thinking in our culture. So we hear blaming going on. I call it the guy on the couch.
Yes.
Or the gal on the sofa. And it's rationalizations and a stream of pointing fingers and my emotions. I feel lousy and I'm not that kind of person. And all of these blames are woven into the thinking pattern. So quickly, Jay, feelings, circumstances, past history, and identity, the big 4.
Yeah.
That's the culture we walk into. And are you going to cave to that or think independently? And that's where it's beyond mindset. You need some additional practices to swoop beyond the cultural drift.
Yeah, it is as a guy who works a lot in the mindset area and focuses a lot on purpose, helping people find purpose and those type of things. The one thing is I find is that people's core identities are not very core, meaning they really don't know who they are.
Yeah.
I think because of that, it's easier to be into a comfort zone because when you don't have core values of who you are and you don't know what you really believe and you're not really solid on your core identity, you have nothing to become.
Now, Jay, let me ask you a question. Core identity, does it have to represent accuracy or it can be something you're living into?
I think we're all growing into a core identity if we have it focused.
Okay.
So do you know what I'm saying when I say that? Like, right. Okay. So let's just say, one of my core values is learning. Okay. As a learner, I'm a learner, right? You may say, hey, I want to be a learner. I want that to be my core identity. So here are the actions I'm going to take and the way I'm going to think about every opportunity is a learning opportunity and how I'm going to grow from that. You may not be a learner right now, but I can become one if that's a core identity that I want to achieve to.
Okay.
Does that?
Yeah, let me play off it. So I deliberately picked Comfort Zone Demolition Expert. And at one point, how does that get expressed? Well, my wife Haley said to me, you know, how do you wake up in the morning? I said, you know, kind of slumbering and not reflective of my identity. I probably didn't say it exactly in those words to her. She said, why don't you know, you love doing workouts. Why don't you start the morning with a routine of workouts? I said, great idea. So what I do is I get on, you know, foam rubber and do back flexibility and then rollers for the legs. And then after that, I'm on the floor doing push-ups. Now, what happened here is I hit a stuck point probably at 25, and then I kept going, and I got up to 50. And I said, okay, rest here, and then do 20 more. And then I met a CEO who came to visit, and the two of us were on the track, and we started pumping hard, and I'm starting going 60, and then 70. And, you know, this morning I did 93.
Good for you.
93 straight push-ups? You kidding me?
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so that's what began. A comfort zone demolition starts the day demolishing comfort zones. And then the final piece of my morning routine after I do the push-ups is I go to my desk right here and I have a folder that contains my marriage mission statement.
Yep.
And it has 12 major statements, like we create fresh conversations and bullet points. We are unhookable and fully present, and bullet points. Example, bullet. When conflict occurs, we bring our full capacity to recognize our role in creating the conflict and conceiving solutions that work for both of us. So how's that for a morning routine for a comfort zone demolition expert?
I love it because I have been preaching this from a whole nother end on this to both clients and to friends. And that is, you know, I wake up in gratitude. It's my very first thing, because there was a time in my life I was not waking up in gratitude. And I have chosen to, you know, write 7 things down that I'm grateful for when I first get up in the morning. And I have a routine, you know, that I will do my devotional time and spend my time, you know, learning, getting my mind right, and putting myself in a place where I'm at peace, and then I can face my day, then do the workouts or whatever I'm going to do. So I do have a routine. It starts off a little different than yours, but it's the same thing. Is to create it was to demolish certain mental, emotional comfort zones that were creating a victim mentality, and also changing what I was listening to that was creating a victim mentality. Because the one thing for years, I would wake up listening to the news, and you know what it was teaching me? There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. And so the news was creating this victim mentality. There's nothing that I can do about world events. And I finally said, what is this doing for me that's making me better? And I thought, it's doing nothing for me but spiraling me down to make me feel worse and make me more angry. And that's not the way I want to live life. Right? But I got comfortable there without knowing I had gotten comfortable there. Right? That's the scary thing about comfort zone.
Dangerous part. Yes.
Right. That's the scariest and most dangerous part of the comfort zone, is you don't even know you're in it until the day you wake up and you go, oh my gosh, what have I been doing, and where have I been? Where have I been?
Jay, that's the colossal deception. Key concept in my book, my coaching, is the colossal deception, which is the tendency to settle for short-term comfort, and even seek short-term comfort and deceive yourself, lie to yourself that I'll get to the big stuff, the goals that really matter down the road, but for now I'll put it off, and put it off again. And that becomes the habit. That becomes the cumulative effect. That becomes the result you're producing.
Right.
And you keep covering it up, and eventually you'll get around to it. Eventually.
Yeah, you don't even know. I didn't even realize I was living in it. I mean, it was just a natural part of who I was.
Yeah.
And I was lost in it. I didn't know I was in it. And then when I start going to the other side and I look back and go, holy cow, what have you been living in?
Yeah.
Right. And you've been living in this stink and stench of listening to everybody else's, complaints about the world and complaints about this person and that person and this political thing and that political thing and how horrible the world is and the divisiveness and all this other stuff. And you just accept it and you surround yourself with it. And the next thing you know, you're part of it and you choose a side and then you're just angry about it and you think that's normal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not normal. It got comfortable.
Just like doing 90 push-ups isn't normal.
No, but
So
it became comfortable. It became that horrible.
Yeah, right.
Became comfortable to me.
Yeah. And so what do you listen to now, or how do you alter your morning routine now?
I start with gratitude. I read my devotionals.
There you go.
I stay in my devotionals. I want to get my mind, emotions, right, and my spiritual side right, and then I'll go attack my physical part. But that's where I want to start, is I want to get my mind, will, and emotions in line.
Yeah.
Because when I do that, now I'm at a place where I want to see people succeed. I want to see people grow. I want to be a part of that. I want to make a positive impact on the world. I don't want to complain about the world. I want to be part of a world that makes a positive impact.
Yep.
And is changing it. And I have no problem being a sniper if I'm changing one person at a time. I've got no problem with that, because maybe I can't change 7.5 billion people on this planet, but by gosh, I can change one. And I may not know who that one is, but doggone it, I will change one.
So Jay, let me play off you and dance here.
Sure.
When I go to the doctor's office in the waiting room, most of the people are looking at their smartphones. Do you know what the cumulative effect of looking at your smartphone is? If that's your practice in the waiting room, you start losing your ability to pay attention. You start looking at social media, you start making comparisons and often feeling badly about the comparisons.
Yeah.
Your problem-solving ability starts to decrease. Yeah. There are major declines that come when that's your practice. So in the waiting room, I'm doing flexibility exercises, stretches, and I'm on the floor doing push-ups.
Right.
Now, has anyone joined me? No, it's zero. But sometimes when we're in the waiting room for the doctor to actually see us, that just before stage that you move, they comment, they remark, and who knows, maybe someday they're not doing push-ups, but they're finding a way to be different in their life, more physically vital. I don't know whose impact gonna be able to receive it, but fine. And I'm doing it for myself first and foremost anyway. And if there are ripple effects, so be it.
Yeah.
That's how I want to spend my waiting room time.
Yeah, that's how I want to spend the remainder of my time.
Yeah.
His name is Art Turock. The book is called Demolish Your Comfort Zones, 6 Unconventional Practices to Crush Your Hidden Limitations. This is the end of the first segment. We're going to get ready for segment 2. Join us right after the break right here. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, folks, we all know that buying and selling a home isn't just a transaction. It's a major life transition. Whether you're buying your first place, making room for a new baby, or downsizing for retirement can be incredibly stressful. Well, this is why you need the Linda Craft team. For over 40 years, Linda has been helping people in our community and communities, people who come from outside our community, navigate these big life changes. Her team doesn't just sell houses. They take the stress out of the process so you can focus on your future. So don't go it alone. Let 40 years of plus of experience work for you. Visit lindacraft.com, LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with my friend Art Turock. His book, Demolish Your Comfort Zones, 6 Unconventional Practices to Crush Your Hidden Limitations. Outstanding book. I do want to talk about something that you talked about in chapter 2, because I can't leave it alone. I tried to want to skip over it, but I can't. And you said that volition is a candidate for the most important word in our language.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is too, after I read what you wrote. It wasn't in my list at first, but after I read this and started thinking about it, volition is a candidate for the most important word in our language. Why is that, in your opinion?
Well, it embraces the notion of choice, and choicefulness is ever present.
Mm-hmm.
And, do we hear people give you an example of a choice? Okay. I mean, see, this is powerful, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Choicefulness every single moment.
Right.
So I'm on a plane. I'm having a conversation with a colonel and his wife, and we're having a great conversation. And he allows me to use his name. It's Dave Foley. And we're heading back from Kansas City to Washington State. And all of a sudden, we're talking about Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide, and they're big fans. I'm a big fan there, and we're having a good time. And all of a sudden, he says to me, out of context, something struck him. I'm not very creative. Volition. I could have said, well, this is a colonel in the Army. You heard victim language, just let it slide.
Right.
And no, I had a red flag in my pocket. I had just done a workshop. Not that I don't carry these to the gym too. And I tossed a red flag at him. And I said to him, sir, former jet engine mechanic Turock requests permission to offer mindset coaching, sir. And he starts cracking up too. He says, okay, bring it on. I said, you just said I'm not creative, which sounds just like your genetics. You're done. You're finished. You have a genetic deficiency.
Right.
A more empowering way of saying that would be, in the past, when I've had creative projects, my results haven't measured to my expectations. And his jaw dropped. And from that moment, the conversation shifted. From that moment, I was invited to his ceremonies on the base when he kept getting promoted again and again. Why was he getting promoted? Because he went back to that base and started doing innovation training workshops with his senior staff. And they all got their brains around the notion of innovation and learned methodologies. And suddenly, the learning paid off in projects around the base that kept spawning. And he kept getting promoted.
Right.
To General Foley. Volition. To throw a red flag at a colonel on an airplane, a guy you just met. Volition.
Yeah. I think this is part of the reason why that because it wasn't a word that I had thought of initially, but the more I kept thinking about it and the more I kept reading about it, and I took tons of notes on it, right? It just is so goal directed. It changes me internally to make a choice. It takes better control of decisions. It's conscious, it's focused. And I wanted to say something. When I read this story with General Foley, when I read the story, I've heard this one from older folks that I've coached. I never, you know what? I'm never going to be good at technology. Technology escapes me. I don't understand it. I can't do it. Do you know how often I hear this from people is I can't do technology. AI, I'm done. AI, there's no way I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm like going, wow.
Yeah.
I started thinking about that. Go, what kind of victim mentality is that? And so then you go, well, I just got to get somebody else to do it for me. Well, boy, that's a comfort, isn't it? That you don't want to have to learn it. You just want somebody else to do it for you. Well, that sounds like a victim, doesn't it? Did I get that wrong?
The identity could be, but there may also be a choice, volition to say, let me call Geek Squad.
Yeah, or
But it's not as a victim. You
But
want
not
to
as a victim.
learn.
But I could go out and say, for instance, you know what? I'm going to take some classes and learn a little bit more about this.
That too.
Try to improve my skill set, right?
That's
Or
right.
I'm going to really pay attention when they come in to my IT guy and have them teach me how I could fix this myself and what are some things I could do to fix this myself in the future that are simple that I could take, as you said early on. Okay, maybe I can't do the big things, but I can find break it down into smaller steps that I know I can be successful, such as, you know what, restart your computer can solve a lot of problems, right? I'm just saying, folks, restart your phone, restart your tablet, restart your computer could solve a lot of problems. But I don't want you to be stuck there saying, I'm never going to be able to do this. I can't do this because technology is too far beyond me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And this leads me to something else that you said that I thought was so brilliantly important. And I never thought about it either until you wrote it in the book. The distinction between liberty and freedom. And I think this is critical to the first lesson of Freedom 101, because if we don't understand the difference between liberty and freedom, I don't think we're going to get to Freedom 101.
Well, liberty is a right granted by government. Freedom is something you earn. And you must be able to exercise your freedom. That's you. That's how you develop yourself. That's how you go about making choices. That's about developing skills. That's really the heart of the distinction, Jay.
Well, but here's the thing and this is how you phrase it. And I love this thought process. So simple, but elegant. And there's elegance in simplicity. Liberty is the right to choose. Freedom is the ability to make a choice.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, when you start thinking about that for a second and you frame that out in your brain, I have the right to choose, but freedom is I have the ability to make the choice.
Yeah.
And then we put ourselves into these comfort zone boxes and we give up our freedom to make a choice. So we just give up our freedom, period.
Yeah.
We still have liberty. I have a right to choose, but we have no more freedom because we've given away our ability to make a choice.
Yeah. And that's part of the excitement in writing this book and coming up with these 6 practices. I call them freedom mastery practices. This is practices that go beyond the conventional goal setting, time management, holding people accountable. This is going to increase your capabilities, these 6 practices. And one that's totally missing from most self-help books is commitment. That was the one that's the beauty of writing a book. And for me, is you come up with new insights. And I'm studying all the prior literature, and no one's really given commitment a step-by-step process and made a distinction that really holds its own. And so I've always made it the heart of my work. My first book was called Getting Physical, How to Stick with Your Exercise Program. It was about the distinction between commitment versus interest. And I pounded it away. And people like Dr. Ken Blanchard, the 1 Minute Manager, he started adopting it, and the 1 Minute Manager gets fit. And I became his fitness coach for decades. And then all of a sudden, I see the quote on a Starbucks cup. Quote number 200 from the Way I See It series. There's a difference between interest and commitment. When you're interested in doing something, you do it only when circumstances permit. When you're committed to something, you accept no excuses, just results. Reasons or results. Now, I would edit my own quote. I would say, you accept no excuses, you just do what's required to achieve results. And that would re-edit the Starbucks cup.
But before we get to those, there are some things here that I think are important building up to those 6. And that is, you have this thing about achieving mindset mastery requires us to overcome 3 challenges. Mindset's automatic, mindset is unexamined, mindset is hidden. And it really boils down to this. And it is, we lack self-awareness. to me, when I look through achieving a mindset mastery, and I look at overcoming these 3 challenges, and I look at lack of awareness, I'm looking at that we have such a lack of self-awareness of where we're at and how comfortable we really have made ourselves. I think that is critical if we're going to ever get to if we're ever going to get to those 6 and actually work into them, we got to have enough self-awareness that we need them. Right.
Absolutely.
And I think because here's my thing. It's not a fear, it's a concern. I'll be real honest with the listener out there and all of you listening and watching, by the way, all over. By the way, everybody who's giving us the love right now, watching us live, thank you for that. Appreciate you doing that for us here. But the thing is I could go through those 6 things, and if I don't think I need them, right, or I don't think I agree with them because I think that my mindset's just fine, or the truth is I'm just not aware. I'm not none of us are self-aware. Very self-aware.
Yeah. And one of the 6 practices are designed to help self-awareness. In fact, the way the book's written, let me play off that, Jay. Every chapter ends with ruthlessly honest questions.
Right.
It's not a summary. It's provoking the reader to be ruthlessly honest with themselves and increasing their awareness. What did you take away? What did you discover? What was ugly about yourself, or maybe enhancing about yourself, that you got in reading this segment of the book?
Right.
So that's a technique. There's a practice 5, mindset disturbance rehearsal, is designed to provoke awareness. So you start looking, I'm going to start the day, I'm going to do something uncomfortable. Okay, write that down. Okay, bam, that's the first step. Then what are the excuses your guy on the couch is going to come up with so you won't follow through? And you start becoming aware of how you'll cop out and what kind of ways you will arm yourself with BS.
Right.
And empower the BS.
Right.
And then the next step in mindset disturbance rehearsal is you check in with, what are my passionate values?
Right.
And for me, Jay, freedom, courage, and extraordinary.
Right.
And the next piece is, if you start living your passionate values, pick one. Extraordinary. Okay. That means you're not going to cop to the low-level garbage that your guy on the couch just recited. Those rationalizations. You're going to be extraordinary and blast through it and stay with the goal you set for the day, the uncomfortable goal. And then you do an after-action review to see how well you followed through. Mindset disturbance rehearsal, one of the 6 practices.
Demolish Your Comfort Zones, 6 unconventional practices to crush your hidden limitations is the book. His name, Art Turock. Absolutely fabulous book. Really suggest you dig into it. It's so good. We're going to be doing another sponsor here. So you know what? You're going to get side 3. Yeah, we have 3 sides because we have 3 segments. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey folks, if you're planning a move, you have to check out lindacraft.com. Honestly, it's much more than just home listings. Linda understands that moving impacts your whole family, including your kids and your pets. That's why some of their favorite website features, and actually people who go to the website, love the exclusive advice from a child psychologist on how to help kids adjust to a move, and even tips from a veterinarian on how to move with pets. It is a complete emotional resource center for your family. So much more. Great show called Real Estate Right Now. Check them out. See the difference for yourself. Log on today, lindacraft.com, lindacraft.com. And we're back here on A New Direction with my friend Art Turock and his book, Demolish Your Comfort Zones, 6 unconventional practices to crush your hidden limitations, which we're going to get to some of them. But we're not going to get to all of them because I want you to go get the book. Okay. The point here is not for me to go through the entire book. The point for me is to give you a taste of some things in here so that you can change, so that you go out and get the book. Okay. That's the point of the show, everybody. You know that. That's how the show rolls. I do want to talk about chapter 3, though, before we get into that. And there's stop falling for colossal deception, the ultimate trickery to evade freedom. Talk about the colossal deception, the most devastating thinking error.
Okay, well, I've mentioned it already, and I'm just going to give an example to solidify that, because it's the human tendency to look for comfort, immediate and guaranteed, and dismiss, ignore, and evade the long-term consequences. So, for instance, you have a lot of managers who may be listening who, if they tell the truth to themselves, they're a hit the numbers manager. My board of directors, my boss is going to pay attention to me driving home results. Bam, that's it. Yeah, I'd like to do some development of my people, but. So the colossal deception is you can't do both. One of the members of my Intrepid Freedom Crusaders, one of my clients, colleague named Andy Teisler, written up in the book, he gave up on that. He said, no, I may be down for a couple of months. I may get some heat from the board. This is with Deschutes Brewery. And he said, nope, I'm ultimately going to play the long game. That's my volitional choice. And he became a developmental leader. He was also passionate about that. He believes in his ability to develop people, and the multiplier effect, when you have people with higher skill sets and skill abilities, boom, that's overcoming the colossal deception, big way.
Yeah. And I think this is a great place. Now that we've got through the colossal deception, I think it's a great place for us to start in onto the 6 practices here.
Let's walk. Yeah, well, I mentioned commitment versus interest.
Yeah.
I mentioned mindset disturbance rehearsal. So we've covered a couple of the 6 practices. Where do you want to play with that, Jay?
Well, I want to go to practice 1 because I'm very passionate about this.
Yeah.
I'm extraordinarily passionate about conceiving heartfelt yet uncomfortable goals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very, very passionate about this. And here's why. And business people listen to me that listen to my show. And it's a bunch of you, if not most all of you. Your goal setting tactics suck. I'm just going to say it that way.
Mm-hmm.
The fact of the matter is, I walk to every business that's pretty much the same thing. They got their sales team out there and their sales goals for the year. And then what they do is they give them the sheet. How many sales are you going to make? Well, I want to just say something about that. And I'm going to say something that Art said in his book. Stop setting ready-made goals. Here's the problem. Art can expound on it. Folks, if people aren't passionate about the goal, do you know what the likelihood is of achieving that goal? Pretty close to this number, and I'm holding up a 0. So, Art, we've got to make a change on this whole goal setting and conceive heartfelt yet uncomfortable goals. Help us get there.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's play off. Conceiving goals is where you really, again, the beauty in the book is I looked and came up with 21 goals. I took some of the work out for the reader. And I said, look, here are some of the ones I've used before. So I already cited one. If I was going after an all-time great in sports for a record that I could compete against, who would it be? I mean, it's a crazy goal, right?
Right.
If there is a conversation that I've been putting off having with a loved one, with my boss, with a friend, a dear friend, what is that conversation and what's the risk and how am I going to overcome that? So you see, again, now you're really honed in. You're not hiding out from it with a colossal deception. You're honing in by virtue of the quality of the question that you ask. Now, that's not going to come up in standard goal setting. Here's another one for productivity. If a time management expert were following you throughout the day, where would they see you doing comfortable tasks as opposed to doing the things that had the most impact? Where would they see you, quote, wasting time totally and being unproductive. So you see, there's a more of an introspective question that comes from the 21 for conceiving heartfelt goals. Is that coming across clear, Jay?
Well, it puts it in a framework that I have talked about on this show and that I use with clients. And I call it the Eisenhower matrix. What's urgent and important, what's not urgent, what's not urgent and what's not important, what's urgent but not important, what's not urgent but important, and knowing what is really, really important, because what we have a tendency to do is one of two things. Everything is urgent and important, which means nothing is, right? Or the things that we think are urgent and important, right? We don't think they are, and we just think that they'll take care of themselves, and so we go into avoidance. Right? That's typically what we do. We don't delegate well, right? We don't schedule well, and we don't know what's really urgent and important because we make everything urgent and important. So yeah, I mean, it fits right in there with all of that about really understanding, and this is where you got to have enough self-awareness, I think, to go, okay, well, what really is important here in my goals. You have 5 steps to conceive heartfelt yet uncomfortable goals. I just want you to, I'm going to run through these with you.
Okay.
Step 1 is be in wonderment. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
To be in wonderment, because we don't do that as adults well. Talk about that for a second as being a first step.
Yeah, let me give you a good one. Oh, brother. So this also combines the notion of how to respond to failure. So take it to my track career, all right? So I'm to the point where I'm competing at USA Nationals. I've won plenty of medals in Washington State. Now I'm going to the national level. 200-meter dash, I finished 10th. I go to Worlds a few weeks later, finished 32nd in Worlds in the 200-meter, and I'm depressed. I remember sitting on the floor in the Sacramento airport, my butt ass there on the ground, and my track buddy is Charlie Bricado, and Charlie says to me, you've got a strong upper body, chest and arms. Have you ever thought of being a pentathlete? I said, Charlie, I don't even know the events in the pentathlon. I couldn't name them. And he goes through it, long jump, discus, javelin, 1,500 meter, 200 meter. Okay. And all of a sudden they go, I don't have any idea. I've never touched a discus or a javelin. So I said, Charlie had me in wonderment. What's the possibility here? I said, 1, you're really good at deliberate practice. 2, you do have some strength, and all you need is really good coaches. So I went out and started recruiting coaches. Heck, one of the coaches was an all-time great discus thrower for the University of Washington. Damn it, he lives 3 hours away in Portland now. Guess what? You got a car? Drive. So I would periodically drive down to Portland to get that kind of training from Will Conwell. And then, by the way, 2 former Olympians throw javelin in this area. You could recruit them. And you see how getting great expert coaching and empowering your coach with doing great deliberate practice allowed me to skyrocket in just a short period of time to being on the medal stand. I went from dejection to being in wonderment. What's the possibility of pentathlon?
Yeah. See, we don't do that well. We don't go into wonderment, especially when we're in not feeling good about ourselves.
Yeah.
And we don't do wonderment well because we're so focused on how horrible we are. We're not seeing other possibilities and opportunities of what we could do.
Life-changing advice could have passed me at that moment.
Right.
Volition.
Right. And you exercise freedom.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Step 2 is notice your emotional reactions. Talk about why that's so important to this idea of conceiving heartfelt yet uncomfortable goals.
Well, that's where you start to separate yourself from run-of-the-mill goals that I'm lukewarm about, or that's what some of my age would do. you make comparisons to other standards.
Right.
When they're heartfelt, they stir your passion. Your passionate values are triggered, aligned with the goal. So you start looking at it and go, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. I love that. Step 3 is convert your initial impressions of compelling goals into measurable goals to accomplish.
Yeah. If the goals are simply heart expressed, and this is how it might look, then you need to start looking at timelines, specific actions. And here's a key term: required actions. So I speak in the language of distinctions with my coachees, and they really like that. So things like commitment versus interest is a distinction. Required action is a distinction. And so we want to begin to look at distinctions, and that's a real key piece.
Yeah.
When you start moving on.
Right. All right. Step 4, for each of your potential heartfelt goals, list the comfort zones you must demolish to be successful.
Yeah. That's missed in most goal setting.
Mm-hmm.
Goal setting is what you aspire to. We're not ruthlessly honest and looking at the comfort zones we also need to demolish.
So
and that
good.
should be seen
So
as
good.
an accomplishment.
That's so good, Art. That's, boy, folks, if you didn't say it again, Art, just so that people can hear it, because that's so,
and that didn't come to me early on, Jay. Only as I'm writing the book and working with my coachees is I realized, wow, you're missing an outcome that nobody seems to be tracking.
right.
Comfort zones demolished. And so that becomes an active conversation with my coachees. So for instance, here's the process. The beginning, they write down goals, and we do that in using my book, and they're conceiving goals. So they're not in the old fashion of, here's the rubric that most people use for goal setting, social, health, religion, whatever, education. We're no longer in that rubric. We're asking out of the box questions that will leave you in wonderment. You don't have ready-made answers for, reference points for. Okay, great. So that is a beautiful place to begin. And so you're thinking in very unusual ways. Repeat your question again. Let me pull back on.
Well, I'm just going through the 5 steps.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just that piece of that, we set the goals, but we don't think about what we got to demolish in order to get those goals, those heart change goals to be there. And that's just so critical. The 5th one is prioritize your brainstorming of potential goals to designate the top 5 you would seriously consider.
Yeah.
To.
And that's really where you move toward probably commitment. Not that you can't commit to more than 5, but again, if you're being rigorous with commitment, you need to look at some goals and say, hey, these are only interests, drop them, or really put them as low priorities. Or you say, no, I'm full board committed no matter what. What are the required actions? What is the timeline? Right. And in fact, Jay, I'm reaching over here. I use, and my coachees, I have them buy the Full Focus Planner. Michael Hyatt, Full Focus Planner. Okay. And this is a beautifully designed book that really outlines days, weeks, months, quarters beautifully to allow that to happen.
That's awesome. Art, we're gonna probably have to do a second show because we've done an hour. Yeah. We've got an hour, and we've just started touching a little bit of these. I want to dig into these later with you, the other 5, really dig into them in a second show with you. So I'd love to bring you back at a future time here in the next few weeks, probably, and just come back and let's do a second show on this. You open to that?
Well, you heard the USC fight song going off on my phone, didn't you?
I did hear the USC fight song, in fact.
I went to football camp there with Coach Pete Carroll.
Oh, wow.
4 years as an adult.
Oh, that's awesome. Good for you.
And so at any rate, yeah, I'm game to come back. And that's my goal when I'm on a podcast, especially with an intelligent podcast host like yourself, who's not coming across with canned questions from the guest. You're looking at your knowledge from the book and creating questions right from the book that allow you to express yourself as a host. So I have no idea at some level what I'm going to get. And I have to dance and be more spontaneous. So
Yeah.
it's more of a challenge for me to be with you, Jay, but it's a challenge worth taking.
I have to tell you, this has been fun for me. I mean, you've provoked a lot of thought questions that all of a sudden I danced off of, just because now that I got some deeper insights into, after reading it a couple times, and then you really explaining it face to face, just opened up so many things that I go, oh, I got to move there, because that's, it's so good. That's why this book, Demolish Your Comfort Zones, is so good. Folks. Art, tell people how they get a hold of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we've been talking about my approach to demolition coaching and demolition coaching services. Go to my website, artturock.com. There's a coaching page and other pages too that say work with art. Click on that. You'll see a calendar. You can make an appointment. Now, the beauty, Jay, for your folks, and I know that there are people who are leaders, is they can sign up for a complimentary coaching call. Now, all it takes is put in the date. You'll get some questions. There are 5 or 6 questions, and your willingness to fill in the questions thoroughly earns you free time with me, 45 minutes, very thorough. We can accomplish a ton, especially when you've given me key questions. You'll be amazed at how much we can accomplish. And that's the coaching call. And then we can both decide, is this a good fit that's going to produce a breakthrough in 90 days? So I time limit and I say, yeah, you've got to come in with a breakthrough project that is worthy of 90 days, and be in wonderment about what we the two can accomplish in our collaboration.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's open. That's for all of the listeners to a new direction.
Great. It's already on the blog write-up. I'll put that on there, that they get a free complimentary call. I will put that on there as well. Art, stay with me. Thank you so much. Stay with me, will you please? Folks, it's the show. Here's what I tell you every week. You're in control of 3 things: your attitude, your effort, and your resiliency. Fact of the matter is, life may not give you what you want. And in fact, it never does. You may find yourself in circumstances you didn't choose, right? But here's the thing that you're in control of: your attitude, right? Make it a positive one. That's up to you. It's not always easy to do it, but you can take a positive attitude today. 2, your effort is tied to your excellence. We always don't have the same amount of energy in the tank, right? But whatever you do have, how excellent will you be with that? That is tied to the effort that you want to give. And then finally, your resiliency. We're all going to get punched in the gut and punched in the mouth, and we're going to get knocked down. But it's up to you to get back up again. Why? Because you're worth it, and we need you on the team. I'll be back next week with another great guest, another great book. It's going to be another great show. As I say to you all over, you had a lot of choices. You chose us. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Will you give us a 5-star review? Tell your friends, and even people that you don't like, tell them too. We'd be happy to have them along. And give them
be in wonderment.
Yeah, be in wonderment. And you know what? Give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you're watching the show there. We appreciate you. As I say to you all over the world, you know what that is. Ciao, everybody.